Hey everyone, Ben Cooper Radio, episode number 175. Last week we had Eric's Helm on the show. It was meant to be Rob Wolf. I told you that I screwed up. I'm sorry. I didn't turn up for the recording. I'd literally, and this is the problem with being old school. I have an old school diary. I like to write things down. I don't like things popping up on my phone all the time. It's just annoying. And I just literally wrote down the wrong time. Just had an absolute mare. So I'm trying to square it up with Rob Wolf again. Hopefully he'll be on the show soon. But today, don't worry, we are well scheduled. We are I'll be honest, we're rant ready, or Rachel is rant ready. Rachel, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Look, I am sweet, but let's fly off to a kicking start. Also, on my last podcast with Eric, announced the fact that the people that listen to the podcast say we waffle too much at the beginning.
Well, that's how we roll. So
basically, they're like, Ben, you're not as interesting as you think you are. So shut up and teach me something. That's basically what they're saying.
Well, this is your podcast and it's free information. So if we want to have a little chat at the beginning, we can. But this is something, we've addressed this in the past, and you were privy to my rant yesterday, which was in full force. So I'm gonna give you like a bit of a modified version today. So we've talked before about professionalism in the industry and those seeking expert advice. And I very rarely go through my Facebook feeds, and I don't really follow what other people are doing in the industry in general. And I have no idea what other people are doing. And something came across on my newsfeed yesterday where, let's just say, somebody who this time last year had never had any fitness experience at all, did a couple of shows last year and is subsequently bringing out a fitness product. Now, I guess this one was particularly just the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, we all know that it goes on in the industry. People get on stage and then therefore they're an expert in competing, they're an expert in fitness or whatever. This one particularly annoyed me because, and like I said, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I really feel like I took this one personally because it's a real attack on our professional industry, and it is taking the piss out of our profession that somebody who has fuck all qualifications can waltz into the fitness industry, create a pretty little ebook and product, and then all of a sudden be deemed as an expert online. When myself, you, and many, many others in the industry work literally countless hours, work literally to the bone, trying to do the right thing, and bring out quality products that actually work and that aren't going to be doing any damage to people. And these people have the audacity to come in and overwrite that. And you and I and fellow fitness professionals, we see this, but what concerns me the most is that to the untrained eye, how would you know any difference? And so that was my little rant yesterday. And I guess this is just a reminder to people: be very mindful of who you are buying off. When you go to somebody's bio page and it says so-and-so is a WBFF, IFBB, whatever it is, and this is nothing against fitness competitors, because a lot of fitness competitors are fantastic and phenomenal coaches, but not all of them. The majority of them aren't coaches at all. They're usually office workers who do it as a part-time hobby. So when you see somebody's bio and it says, so-and-so at WBFF, IFBB, WNBF, whatever it is, pro, and they have very little else about their qualifications and what they do and how they can actually help you, and their bio is all about them, be very careful and just think twice about who you're buying off. And I'm going to leave it there before I go really down the rabbit hole, but that really was the straw that broke the camel's back. Stop taking the piss in the fitness industry. I know a little bit about law. I don't class myself as a lawyer. I know a little bit about finance and investment and property. I don't class myself as a property guru. I don't class myself as a chartered accountant because I know a little bit about finance. And you know what? I'm medically trained. I've got a physio degree. Do I call myself a doctor? No. This is like, at some stage, it's going to have to stop. And I think that people are becoming more aware of it. But this is just a little reminder of it is still happening, and just be mindful who you're purchasing from.
There's definitely a shift in, especially in my space, of people having to sort of show that they are, qualified and can support and back up the work that they do with their clients and their methods and stuff. The nutrition industry is starting to become better regulated. Our Body Type Nutrition Academy, we're now forcing our program through more and more hoops so we can show that we are, up to standard across the board in the industry, as well as teaching our course from an angle and a niche that I kind of believe in, that a lot of traditional courses aren't. But that's the problem with the internet age, and it's also the beautiful thing. Like, we've got great access to information these days, it's everywhere. But so many people could just set up a website, claim they're an expert, have an ebook, have an email list, a Facebook page, and job done. They're coaching people, and it is painful. I've seen so many people come to me, in bits with their health because they've been put on a 1,200 calorie diet, twice a day training program from a fitness competitor who's done one show and really hasn't been through the mill herself or himself, and it's damaging. It's psychologically damaging. It's physically damaging. I suppose mine and Rachel's ending bit of advice off the back of this is just do your homework. Like, if you're going to go and seek out a coach with adequate qualifications. Like, everyone that's part of my team, for example, on Body Type Nutrition, are adequately qualified to do their job, and they're also fantastic people. Rachel's very well qualified. I'm well qualified. There's loads of people out there, but just do your due diligence, because at some point they're going to have to really take your health into their hands, and you've got to be able to trust them with that, and they're going to have to do the right thing by it. And if they're not that well experienced, then they're not going to treat you in the right way. Like, health and nutrition is more than a diet plan and a training program. It's a hell of a lot more than that.
I literally just posted a blog post on that, actually, and I think one of my finishing lines on it was that 9 times out of 10 I do so much more with my girls. And actually, if I was to look at what I did with my girls, particularly on a private coaching level, I would say 80% of it has nothing to do with nutrition and training. It's all to do with finding out what somebody wants, their lifestyle, getting everything in the background ready, because they failed on so many fat loss diets before for a reason. And so I've literally just written a blog post on that. Actually, it's called "Am I Meant to Be Overweight?"
Nice.
So you can go check that out. So it's a little bit about that and people's thought processes, and how fat loss is so much more than nutrition and training. Anyway, I've got that out of my system now. We can begin.
Rant over. So we've got one question that was left over from last week, and then we've got a load of questions for this week. I was meant to be asking the questions last week. Shall I ask this first question?
Yeah, because I've got a good answer for this one. I prepared it for last week, and I couldn't remember what I was going to say, so I had to go through and sort of try and rack my brain, because I couldn't find my notes from last week.
Right.
So
here we go. Hi, Ben and Rachel. Just want to start by saying I love the podcast. I came across it about 2 to 3 months ago, and I'm making my way through the previous episodes. My question is more of a lifestyle one rather than a fitness one, given the recent focus on mindset. I would describe myself as a very mentally intense person, and I find myself often critically reevaluating what I'm doing with my life, both in terms of work, training, and relationships. This often follows a period of burnout from this mental intensity. This period of reevaluation often results in a significant change in either my work or social life. This most recently resulted in me ending a long-term relationship due to a feeling of wanting more from life. This feeling transcends through all aspects of life, including training. Firstly, would you say this is a healthy approach to life? I feel it's a positive step to strive for progression and to want more from myself. I feel this is also a hindrance, as I feel I am capable of extraordinary things in a professional sense in the fitness industry, but question whether this is justified or whether I am delusional as to my own ability. This results in me feeling like my threshold for happiness is increased each time it is reached, so I question whether I will ever reach and maintain a level of satisfaction I strive for. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Mac.
Well, the first thing here is the question. Firstly, would you say this is a healthy approach to life? No. And I'll explain why. So the other thing that he or she said was, I feel it is a positive step to strive for progression and to want more for myself. Yes, it is. And we should all strive for progression, no matter what we're doing, whether it be in health, fitness, life. It's always, as my catchphrase says, chase life. Life is not something that is a mundane and that is a standard. There's something that's always changing all of the time, and you always want to aim for a little bit better every time. But that's exciting and that's fun. You shouldn't see, that chase as stressful, and you shouldn't see it as, with the mental intensity and over evaluation that you're currently doing. The second thing that said here that I wanted to comment on was, I feel capable of extraordinary things in a professional sense in the fitness industry. Excellent. Everybody is capable of doing extraordinary things, but do you actually want to do that? Is that really what you want to do? And I guess, this can be summarized as decide what you want, create a plan, and chase it. And the number one thing that's coming out here is that it sounds like, is this a he or a she that's written this?
He? I think it's a he. I think it's signed as Mac.
Okay, well, we'll say he. It looks like you've got a plan and you're obviously a very driven person, but the problem is you're overanalyzing every single step of the way. So you have a plan, but instead of just enjoying the journey, and let's be honest here, the journey is going to have ups and downs and, relationships that will work, some that won't work. Instead of enjoying the journey, you're overanalyzing every single step of the way. And it's almost like it's an obsessive thing. It's like obsessive calorie counting, right? This is like your life. You're obsessively calorie counting your life here. And that basically comes down to number one thing. So that's confidence. So you need to have a lot more confidence in yourself and have trust within yourself that you're making the right decisions, and understand and realize that there will be, success doesn't go, there's a very famous diagram where, you have success up here, and success is never like one straight line. It's like a zigzag all the way up to the top. And what you'll find is that when you reach that goal, there are going to be other goals that you create along the way. And that's life. And you never this is why you have to enjoy the journey. You can't just say, oh, well, when I'm 60 kilos, I'm going to be happy. When I have this much money in my bank account, I'm going to be happy. When I've got this bird by my side, I'm going to be happy, because it doesn't actually work like that. Life is about the journey and it's not about the destination. And so we've really got to have the confidence in your judgment and the confidence to be able to actually believe. I mean, you've said here, I feel as though I'm capable of extraordinary things. That's great. You're writing it down. So start believing it.
Let me draw a parallel. When I was first sort of trying to get geared up with body type nutrition and build everything that I've sort of built now and continue to build, I said to myself that this was the perfect time for me, in that I was single, I was just coming out of university. It was the right time. I could invest all my knowledge in it, and I actively said to myself, I do not want a relationship. I'm not in a place where it's the right thing for me. I was in a place where I wanted to work 12, 14 hours a day, really focus on my business, train, have a bit of a social life, and that was it. I had big plans for myself, so I didn't allow the relationship element to come into it. If you're being overly analytical, it's very hard to drill down into a relationship and be overly analytical for a start when your head just isn't there. You need your head to be there and ready for it, and then you can become relaxed around it. If you every person that you come into contact with, even if they're the love of your life, we'll call them imperfections, right? Things that are not the same as how you do them. Whether they wash up differently, wash your clothes differently, they have a habit, they fart, whatever. There's going to be habits that you think, but you have to relax around that. You can't overanalyze everything in an environment. And it's the same with friends. So by all means, be analytical, be driven about your training. But you have to, like Rachel said, know why you're doing it. Otherwise, if there's no end goal, you will paralyze yourself with, why am I doing this? What could I do better? Where have I gone wrong? And it wasn't until I was about 3 years in to sort of growing what I'm growing, where I said, do you know what, I'm ready for a relationship. I feel a little bit more relaxed with it. I feel like I'm on an upward spiral. I feel like it's under control. I feel like I can step back a little bit and the energy is going in the right direction, and I could become sort of less driven and obsessive about the kind of work environment and invest a little bit more back into my social life and that kind of stuff. So it will swing in roundabouts, but you make that commitment to yourself of what you're trying to drive towards. Like at the moment, I'm putting a little bit more energy back into my business. My girlfriend is in the England touch rugby squad. She's working a bit harder than that. That means we're doing a little bit less socially together. My business and what we're trying to do, body type nutrition and other stuff, we're investing a bit more time, and then it will just swing around a little bit. But as long as, you know, I'm financially secure, which is a big thing in everyone's life, being financially secure, as long as you know that, you know, the rent's covered, your happiness is covered, you're secure, then you can just kind of sit back. Because that's a lot of the reasons why we chase bigger goals, right? We want to be more financially secure, we want to be happy, we want to know that our back's covered and we can do the things that we want to do in life. And I included this in part of a webinar I did the other night, that the personal training industry and the self-employed industry is very poor at actually analysing what their lifestyle needs financially. Like most of us say, if I work 30 hours a week, I'll earn this. If I earn 40 hours a week, I'll earn this. Basically, if I just work more, I will earn more. And people never step back to say, actually, what level of money do I actually need if I'm self-employed? Let's say your rent is 500, your insurance is 100, your food is 400. Let's say your monthly outgoings are 1,200 quid. Well, you only really then need 1,600, 1,800, maybe 2 grand to actually live. So if you earn more than that any given month, it's pretty much a bonus. It can go into your savings, go to develop your work, you know, whatever. But if you only earn 2,001 a month, that's cool. But then that gives you the mental freedom and clarity to say, well, actually, I can go on holiday. I can take a day off because I know the money that I actually need, I've kind of got, rather than going, I just need to work as much as possible because if a dark day comes, then I'm going to be okay. Yeah. And then you never have the time to enjoy what you're earning and creating anyway.
I'm not sure whether I should go into the holiday thing. You know, people think of holidays as a luxury, which of course they are, but they're also an absolute necessity. And this is what chasing life is all about, is exploring the world, is exploring different environments, you know, meeting new people, seeing different places, seeing different things. And everybody has the capacity to do whatever they want, when they want. The problem is just a lot of people aren't prepared to work for it. So, you know, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep. I've got some friends from all walks of life, some of which are, you know, earn a lot of money. They've got their own companies and they've got, you know, multimillionaires, and they don't really have much cash because their cash is all tied up in assets. And that's their choice, it's their way of doing things. And then, you know, I have some other friends who are on a relatively low income, but they're always cash happy. You know, they've always got money to be able to go out to lunch, to go out to dinners. All right, they may not buy flash handbags and flash cars, but they're really happy, and they've, you know, both is cool. Like, it's, you know, it's down to what you want, but you have to decide what you want at the end of the day. And if you want to go on holiday with your family once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, then you make it happen. And if you're on a lower income, then you sacrifice in other areas. But, you know, like Ben said, it's certainly not about what you make, it's about what you keep.
It's also a factor of people analysing themselves to the absolute. So we create a goal based on the absolute perfection of what we're trying to meet. So let's take men's cover model. You look at the picture, you're like, right, I want those abs, I want those pecs. I've now got this image in my head. So if you work towards that, you will literally never reach it. You have a different body, a different shape. You know, loads of things are going to look different. So I've, you know, spoke with plenty of guys before, and we've done a show previously where we got a guy to come on and talk about his body dysmorphia, in that he analysed himself to this end extreme. And it's because we're doing things externally, we're externally driven to get something, you will never achieve it because you don't actually have context of why you're achieving it. And this is why we've talked about the why. The why is really important. So you need to create the kind of the inspiration, you sort of go, oh, that's what I want, but this is actually the emotion that is going to connect me to the why of doing what I want. So, for example, one of my massive goals is to do something on TV with Jamie Oliver. Now, I'm not externally driven from the fact that I want to be alongside Jamie Oliver so I can rub shoulders with someone that's amazing and is a celebrity and does great things. I want to rub shoulders because I believe I'm as powerful an influence as Jamie is, and then we'll have the opportunity to influence people and get greater change in the world. So that's my internal why connected to an external, but I resonate with the emotion of what that can get me. I'm not sitting there going, oh, it'd be awesome to rub shoulders with Jamie Oliver. I'll be the right man. No, I'm doing it because I can reach a bigger audience and I have the ability to inspire others like he does. So, we just have to be so aware of how we contextualize the things that we want to achieve in life, because it's just so important. And don't get me wrong, I've paralyzed myself before on really trying to work on my goals and why I try to do things. And I promise you'll just never get anywhere. And it's exhausting. When things are not going right, it's exhausting. Like right now, I'm in a really good place, but a couple of weeks ago, there were some things going wrong that were annoying me. And even though they were going wrong and they were being fixed and they were okay, it's exhausting thinking about negativity. It really is. Like if you've got a problem, or I've got a problem, I will pick up the phone and try and speak to that person straight away, even if it's 9 o'clock at night, even if it's on a Sunday, because we all know the brain focuses on that negativity. You want that problem solved. Like if I was pissed off at Rachel, I'd want to pick up the phone and speak to her straight away and resolve it, because otherwise I'm going to be like, well, what's Rachel thinking? Oh, well, she said this and I did that, and oh, what's it going to end up as? Like, it is really tiring, and that's the only thing that wears me out mentally. And actually, it can wear me out quite quickly because I always want to do the right thing as an individual. I believe, ethically, I owe that of people, and it's something that I find it tires me out mentally. And I think most people are the same.
I certainly find from a personal perspective, I get mentally exhausted, I think, from work because, I have the tendency to, I wouldn't say overanalyze, but certainly analyze in great depth as to what I do. And if I'm doing a good job and I'm doing the best of my abilities, and sometimes I do lay awake at night thinking about these things. I've just built rebuilt the Athletic Fox Blueprint, which is my membership site, and it was a massive, monumental change. And there's been so much work involved behind the scenes, and no one really truly appreciates how much work that goes into it. And you lying awake at night thinking, well, this needs to be tagged here, and this email needs to get sent here, and this accountability thing needs to be sent here. And there is so much involved in it. And I think that that's just, that's also part of, working at a high level as well, where you make sure that everything is as streamlined as possible. And, I know that with Body Type Nutrition as well, like it's a big organization now that you're running, and you have to have automation in place. And sometimes when automation doesn't work and perhaps an email doesn't get sent, people are very unforgiving. And as hardened as you become to these things over the years, like it still gets me. Like when I had an email that didn't go out at a particular time, and like I get some properly aggressive emails back. I'm talking a small percentage. The majority of the ladies in my program are absolutely phenomenal, and they're amazing, and they're doing some amazing things. But now and again, you always get the odd one which states, give me a refund, I haven't received this. And I'm like, hang on a minute, you haven't even given me a chance to apologize, and you haven't even given my staff a chance to resend an email that's actually probably in your spam email box. So just a little bit of I guess that's just how I think of these things, and that's what causes sometimes my mental intensity, is where you're continually thinking about these things, and that's about work in particular. It's not about my life. Whereas Mac, his statement here, burnout from mental intensity, it is intense. Man, just give yourself a break and just start believing in and start to find as well evidence that you can do certain things. So evidence for certain things, so evidence that you are going to be amazing in the fitness industry, evidence that you've helped people before, because all of these things show and bring up confidence.
This is the same with body composition, fitness goal, training, prepping food, like everything. There has to be a period of time where you set aside a day, a weekend or whatever, and you get stuck in and you build the foundations, because when you have the day-to-day runnings of your life, it's very hard to get on top and basically set aside a day with no distractions and literally just get on top of what you need to do. Like coming back to the example of my girlfriend being away a bit more with her sport, it's actually been really beneficial, because in the day-to-day running of what I need to do with my work, it's hard to just set aside a day and get loads of stuff done. So I've been working a few weekends where I've said, right, I need to clear this out of the way. I need to develop a system for this. I need to put in this communication pathway for this to make sure that this is handled appropriately. I want to get my email backlog done because it's ridiculous. I then want to put a system in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And I have to go away, so I have to work my usual 40, 50 hour week, and then I have to go away and do a weekend on top of it to create more ease in my working week. And it's the same with your body. Like you might have to sit down on a Saturday morning and re-plan your month's training program, work out where you're going to buy your food from. Like me and my girlfriend have been doing a little bit more experimenting with where we buy our food in our local area, and we've worked out that we can get as good a quality food that if we go to two places, and we've worked out now that if I go to one and she goes to the other, that we can cut our time is basically the same, and she buys that and we put the money into the account and that kind of thing. But we had to sit down and invest the time to go through that together. But now, like for example, we were talking this morning about blueberries. We used to buy our blueberries from Waitrose, and actually I usually dislike Asda as a whole, don't find the food quality that great in Asda. But I bought a punnet of blueberries from Asda, 400 grams, massive punnet for £2, and they were some of the best blueberries I've ever tasted. And that actually made us think, well, how much more money were we wasting on our food bill by just not thinking about what's in our local area, where we can get food from, how we can split up our time. Because I wanted to do that. Like I was being too frivolous with my food spending. But it took me time to sit down and work out a system. Once I get the system into place, it becomes a habit, right? It's like all this stuff. If it's unusual and we don't do it, it makes it hard to create the habit. But we've got to create a system which allows us to get into our stride with it, and then we can let the habit run away with itself.
Just on a side note, I'm not sure about the UK because I haven't been in there yet, but Aldi in Australia has organic and grass-fed meats, and it's not, it's not really cheap, but it's about $2, which is like £1 or so cheaper for 500 grams of mince, which, when you look at these things and you're consuming a lot of organic and free range meats, that adds up to a lot. So I don't know if it's the same in the UK. I have to be honest, I haven't been to an Aldi. There isn't one in my area, so I don't know. But certainly in Australia, and I would have thought then it's worldwide, isn't it German, Aldi? They certainly have a good organic range where they do organic butters and yogurts and things like that. Organic pasta. What else do I used to buy there? Things like that, anyway. But yeah, shop around.
It's making the time to shop around, isn't it? Like, we don't do it enough. We get in a habit. We're like, oh shit, I haven't got enough time this morning. I'll quickly nip to so-and-so. And actually, you when you tot it up across a month, you can end up spending a lot more. Like, my girlfriend is great at not planning with her food. And she just goes in, she's like, oh, I'll have a bit of that, a little bit of that. Buys a packaged salad, buys some meat to go with it. And I'm like, you're spending £5, £6, £7 a meal. Like, and actually, we could half that if we just sat down, we're a bit more logical about it. And she might be prepared to do it, not prepared to do it. You might be prepared to do it, you might not be prepared to do it. But it makes sense to kind of invest that time, because then you've got more time to have money for fun, right? You can buy cool stuff, you can buy the handbag, you can go on the holiday, whatever. So yeah.
One more thing. Okay, so before we finish this, I'm just reading on my screen here. Mark was saying, this resulted me in ending a long-term relationship due to a feeling of wanting more from life. Quite frankly, I don't think his overanalyzing was a result of that relationship ending. You're with the right person or you're not. There's no grey area in between. It's a yes or it's a no. And there's a fantastic blog by Mark Manson, and it's called The Law of Fuck Yes or No. And so I would I've shared it several times on my social media. I would encourage everybody to take a read of it. It's called The Law of Fuck Yes or No, by Mark Manson. It's Mark Manson or Mark Mason, I can't remember. And it makes relationships very clear. So on the previous podcast, we've talked about a book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown, and that's the overriding principle that comes out of that is if it's not a certain yes, then it's a definite no. And that book is more about work, and you can apply it to relationships as well. But Mark has, he's written it in a way for relationships, and it's a fantastic blog, and I would strongly encourage everybody to read it. And so, if you find that you are, this guy's entered a long-term relationship due to a feeling of wanting more from life, he just probably wasn't with the right person, and that's cool.
No, and it's tough. Like when you get into a relationship, you invest a lot of time, energy, you give so much of yourself, and it is hard breaking up. Like, we've all been there, we've probably all been through some kind of breakup that's a bit painful, and you question yourself and you analyse yourself, but actually, great, and this is across the board in life in general, great comfort can come from very simple mantras. Like Rachel's just said, if a relationship didn't work, it wasn't right. And sometimes a huge amount of comfort can be found in just you saying, it wasn't right. I will find the right person. It might not be now, it might be in a month or a year or 2 years' time. But there's someone out there for everyone. And I've been in relationships where you thought, why didn't that work out? But now I am in that relationship. I'm like, well, nothing. I don't think anything can change it. We can work through anything. We can change anything. Nothing's ever perfect. It's not. You have to flex. That's what love is. You have to help each other. You have to work with each other on each other's goals, and it will change all the time. Like one day you might be like, I want to do this. And the next day you're like, I want to do this. And that is life as well. Change happens all the time. And I think change only becomes tough when we don't allow it or we're not used to it. Like there's been quite a few changes for me professionally and the people that I've worked with in the last year. And it was a little bit tough with the change because I've been working with certain people for quite a while. And I was like, but change happens all the time. People change jobs, people move on, people get in relationships. That's just life, and it's just a beautiful evolution, and to me you just got to embrace it. Like I'm sure me and Rachel will speak less to each other at some point in our life. She'll have more of a focus with someone else, her relationship, me the same. That's just life. Like we won't beat ourselves up about it, nothing will change. We just accept that is a course of life, but right now is the now.
Well, we did that. I met you when you were 19, I was 21, and we were doing a Czech course. Now, God, 11 years ago. And, there was a period, where before Facebook came in, we probably lost touch. And then, as Facebook started to come out and, we started to go to the same conferences and be in the same circles and go to the same mentorships and everything, you start to reconnect with people. And they always say that your best friends are those that you don't need to speak to every single day. And I've got a best friend who I grew up with, Lucy. She's still in Cardiff, and she's, I cannot speak to her sometimes I have, when I was living in Australia, months on end. And then if I was in a crisis in Australia, she would be the absolute first person I would call. Wouldn't matter what time of the day it is, she would always be there, and vice versa. And that's really cool.
Do you know what? I'm going to end the podcast there. It's just over half an hour. I think that's perfect today. I think, cool. I want to focus on certain messages at the moment. I think we've hit home on a certain message. We've got, we'll save these 3 questions for the next show. It will be episode 177 with Rachel. Don't you worry, the next guest coming up is another awesome guest. If you've enjoyed my work, please share it, do something with it on Facebook, share it with a friend. Come on, help support this message. We need your help. Tag us in on Twitter, have a conversation with us. Please do keep engaging with both of us on social media. We are always here to kind of support and talk to you.
Can I just say, I'm really sorry. I'm terrible on Twitter. I'm just trying very hard to get better. It's funny, how some people. I'm very good on Facebook and I'm very interactive on Facebook. And some people have their preferred platforms. Some people it's Instagram, some people it's Twitter. I'm terrible on Twitter. It's something that I'm working on. So if somebody has tweeted me, it sometimes takes me a little while to get back to you. I usually sort of sit there once a week and I try and go through everything. So I'm trying to do it on a more regular basis, just so everyone knows.
Twitter's just so easy. It's like 140 characters. But
for a girl, it's really challenging. So for a girl, it's so much better to have a long post on Facebook. I can just express myself. And on Twitter, I'm like, how can I condense this into 140 characters? Oh, I can't be bothered. That's how I feel about Twitter.
Well, it's a skill to develop, Rachel.
I know. All
Being
right,
concise.
I'll get onto it.
Right, thank you very much, everyone, today. If you want to find out, my shiny new website has gone up, by the way, bencooper.com. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it. There's loads of new free ebooks. I've written an ebook on change. I've written a new beginner's guide to nutrition, which if you pass that, you can then get a nutritional blueprint, which I've written. And within about 3 or 4 weeks' time, there'll be a sports nutrition and advanced gym goer's guide as well. There's also a beginner's guide to lifting. There's also an intermediate guide to lifting. There's a lot of free and paid ebooks on my website now. A lot is going to be happening on the bencooper.com site. So if you haven't seen it for a while, check it out. The whole look and feel's changed a lot. Same with the body type nutrition site. We've just had that rebuilt. And yeah, there's more coming this year. And on another note, the video that I did a while ago, Diet, the Disease of the Generation. Thank you very much for your support with that video. I think it's nearly hit 200,000 people now, which is an amazing message to spread. This year, I'm planning on releasing one of those videos at least every month of this year. So a powerful, thought-provoking video. And as people that, are a fan of my work, listen to the podcast, all I'd ask is for your support. Share it, like it, spread the message. There's one coming out soon on kids nutrition, and I've written an ebook for parents to help their kids for free to improve their nutrition. There's one coming out on change, goal setting. Just help support that message because I think it would be really powerful for people.
Awesome.
Right, see you later, everyone. We'll see you on next week's show. Take care. Be awesome.
Ciao.
I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Eric Helms.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Eric, I know the audience is going to be a good handful of people that follow your work,